Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bouk and Zoobie show on the world famous LAR.com, 927 LAR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zuby, and special guest, Mr. Gamal Smith. Welcome back, Gamal.
Thanks for having me back, fellas. Good to be back.
It's always great to have Gamal on the show. And as typical with Gamal, when he comes on the show, we talk about pretty much his favorite sport, right, John? And I know it's up there in your mind as well. So we got so much to talk about, and we're technically going to be talking a lot about the draft. So it is kind of our draft preview show. But, we obviously will start, right, John, with the finals. And a certain local team in the tri-state is still looking for a coach?
Well, listen, I'm going to give credit where credit is due because Gamal was on with us when we did the live show from your house.
Okay, right, that's true.
And back then, if my memory serves me correct, and Gamal's been saying it to me for years, it hasn't been a one time only. He's been saying to me, Bouk, Thibodeau is gone. Thibodeau is gone. His time is up. I actually went back to that just to remind myself what he said on that. And he was saying, yeah, this is the year. His time is up. He has to, he got him to a certain point. And man, he was on the money with this one. Gamal, I have to give you credit on that one. And the other thing is the stupidity that's going on with this team with having every single coach that is with the team turn them down, or the team's turning them down. And now they're down to what? Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins. And Gamal's pick is still out there, Mark Jackson.
All right, well, Gamal, so we'll let you take it there because I think most Knick fans are absolutely in an uproar about Thibodeau getting canned. So post your comments. I know you're not surprised he got canned, unless you got like an with Leon Rose or the Wild West, whatever his name is, West, right? Those guys. So why did you really thought that he would get fired if he did not win the championship or go to the finals? Was that what you were saying?
In my opinion, other than winning the championship, like this was it for him because,
All right.
I truly believe, I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. He's a very good coach, but is he, the coach that's going to get you the championship? I don't believe so. I think that what he is excellent at, which he's done in New York, is that he's excellent at establishing the right culture. He's excellent at getting guys to understand what it is to work hard and play as a team. And that will get you so far. And I got to be honest with you. I thought, as much as I thought he was going to get canned, I thought he had a great season. I thought he went further than anyone expected. He took out Boston. Even when Tatum went down, it was like, what? Boston still came to play, played great against the Pacers. That was a tough series. We struggled against them all season. But it gives you pause for concern because you look at the way the Knicks are going about things. And you're like, what the heck is going on? This is like the kid in high school who goes and buys 2 prom tickets and he's going around and he's asking every girl who already has a boyfriend if they want to go. What, are you kidding me? Like, no, it doesn't work like that.
So that's a great point, Gamal, because when you fire your head coach, you typically have a plan mapped out. And how could first of all, the plan was Jason Kidd? I mean, have they been watching the NBA for the last decade? And even if not Jason Kidd, going for coaches that are under contract with other teams, that's your strategy. I mean, John, that was just flawed to say the least.
And by the way, Paul, you remember when they were saying, oh, Leon Rose made, yeah, of course I said James Dolan made them, because what did we learn after our last podcast? That he was actually interviewing the players himself. He went player to player. So guess what? Mr. Dolan, as I said, made this decision. It was not Leon Rose.
Yeah.
And the stupidity is the way they're handling this, because really, when you're looking at who may replace him, I mean, all right, Mike Brown, I'm o- I'm not thrilled with Mike Brown. Okay,
You better
I
not
think
be.
Thibodeau is a better coach than Mike Brown is. I
Mike
think he's a
Brown's
better
been a
coach than
disaster.
Taylor Jenkins. So now they're talking about, what is this guy from New Orleans, Borrego, or he's an
Oh,
assistant
right.
coach.
Yeah. Okay. James
You know
Borrego, right?
what?
Yeah.
I would rather go with Gamal's pick at this point. Mark Jackson. Why
Well, yeah.
not Mark Jackson? He's better than these guys. Why?
Yeah,
These
I
are
know.
retreads. We're gonna have Budenholzer here. I mean, what choices
Crazy.
do we have? It's either you make you go on your hands and knees and apologize to Thibodeau and say, you know what, we made a mistake, come back,
No.
or he sits home and makes his $30 million.
John, what happened to Johnny Bryant, the young assistant coach? He was all the thing the last. What happened? Did he fall off the face of the earth?
We have not heard a word about him.
Right. The first,
Yeah.
come on, I don't know if you knew this, but we were
Yeah.
told that's when the last episode that we had a few weeks ago. And Johnny Bryant was like, there was some sports book that had him as the favorite for the job. We talked about him. And then he was up for the Phoenix job, right? And he didn't get that. And he's fallen off the face of the earth.
You know,
I'd rather have him than Mike Brown any day of the week.
absolutely. And you know, it's you make a move like this, you get rid of Thibodeau, and that's fine. You want to make it okay, that's fine.
Sure.
But at this point, where the Knicks are, if you are not bringing in a championship level coach, then like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to bring in someone who's proven, someone who can, get the job done. And I saw they were, I believe it was Tyler Jenkins, right? He's from Memphis.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got canned from Memphis.
I
Yeah.
was like, next. Sorry, move on down. Who's up next? Like, it's like we have to bring in guys who are, who are proven. From Denver, Mike Malone. It's like, all right, championship, but again, he didn't end on best terms, over
Well,
there. But
he's your best. He's probably your best option out of all the names you've thrown
Agreed.
out there. At least the guy's won an NBA championship, and he
Agreed.
has a
He's a
connection to
New
New
York
York,
guy.
so he understands. Right, he understands the New York landscape. Throwing the names we're throwing out there, I think he's probably the best one. I don't know, but that's my thought. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I agree with you, Zub. I mean, you look at, like, who else is out there? Like, I mean, he's the best of what is available.
Right. All right. Well, it sounds a little bit like Justin Fields quarterbacking the Jets, the best of what was available. So that's part of life in the world of sports, right, John? Anyway, it just, and actually, we should ask Gamal's thoughts about the close of the season with the Knicks, and something that John and really harped on, the one-dimensionalness of the offense, where Jalen, who is obviously a tremendous player, but is a ball-dominant player. And what are they going to do going forward? I mean, that's something that just has to change. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like we got a different version of Carmelo. It's like, you get someone who's just trying to, like, beat the air out of the basketball. You can't, the talent is undeniable. He's definitely a clutch player. I got to be honest with you. You look at someone like Jalen Brunson, and this is something that over the years I've noticed that a lot of teams in the NBA have done. You have a lot of guards, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You have a lot of guards who are like Steph Curry. You have a lot of these guys who are by nature a shooting guard. You are by nature a shooting guard. And over the years, you learn how to navigate the game, you work on your ball handling, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, you know what? Hey, let's put the ball in his hand. And they have these guys out there running the point guard position, but they are not natural point guards. And I feel like that is the situation with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is a score first type of guard. He's a small two guard. So in my opinion, what I think the Knicks should do is, I think they need to get a point guard and get Brunson off of the ball. I would take him off of the ball. It's kind of like when you watch the Warriors play. When they take Curry off of the ball, he's a nightmare because now he's running all over the place and he's just wreaking havoc everywhere he goes. Jalen Brunson can be that guy. But we have to find, you have to find a legitimate point guard, someone who is a point guard part by trade, a pass first, score second, type of guard.
Who has length too, though.
Who has length. And I got to tell you, you're going to think I'm crazy, but, someone who I think can get it done and we won't have to give up a lot. I got to tell you, man, and you know what? He had a good year back is my boy Lonzo Ball.
That's so funny. I knew you. I was going to say the same exact name. They would love to get rid of him. He's a guy. He's got a ton of talent, but I don't know. It's the knucklehead factor with him is a little high. I guess I'm a little scared, but you're right. He would fit.
Not LaMelo, Lonzo.
Oh, I thought LaMelo. I'm sorry. I got my Ball brothers messed up. Lonzo, who's been obviously injured. I thought almost his career was over. So where did he play last year?
Yeah, he had a good solid year with the Bulls.
He played with the Bulls. Okay.
Well. So it's
sorry,
like
I was so
he's looking for an opportunity. You don't listen. It's not going to cost much. That's something I think that could be promising. But I tell you, it is promising. I couldn't believe it. It was like Christmas in summer. Have you guys heard who the Knicks have acquired? Who is they're hoping to play in this summer league?
Oh, the kid Najee.
Oh yes, our prayers have been answered. We have a center.
Tell me about him. Who are you talking about?
Oh man, James Najee, 6'11", he's turning 21 in August. 6'11" with a 7'7" wingspan, can jump out the gym, is a physical specimen, and we got him in the cat trade, and he's been playing for Barcelona for the past I think like 3 or 4 years.
And they actually drafted him 2 years ago, and they hit him.
I think Charlotte.
They hit him in Barcelona.
Okay, there's a little tidbit for the Knick fans out there. Good job. All right, so
I actually looked at some video of him. He's actually 7 feet now, Gamal, and still growing.
Awesome.
And still growing.
All right.
It's unbelievable. His wingspan is unbelievable.
But he's a Robinson type of guy, though, right? He's not. Does he have an offensive game at all, or is he purely rebounding, block shots?
You know what? For what we have,
right?
That's all we need. Set good screens, rebound, block shots, run the floor, and this looks like everything that this kid can do.
All right, there you go. Well, because that maybe gives them a little move to even move on from Cat. You never know. It's possible that the Knicks may do a bold move there. But that would make no sense because he's one of the reasons why Thibodeau got fired, apparently, right? Him and Bridges. Yeah, I mean, like you said, Gamal, the Knicks, they really had a great season, and that's why we were so down on the Thibodeau firing, because to me, it's like he deserves another year. I don't disagree, because we talked about this, that I thought that, the way he was handling the team, it was upsetting at times where you were frustrated, like, man, oh man, the way you handle your bench and you don't play guys, you bury guys, and it's really it's hurting the team. And then when he made the move with Robinson in the starting lineup, I just thought taking Josh Hart out of the lineup and giving him less minutes is just not a good strategy. I just thought it did not make sense last year. I know somebody had to be the odd man out in that situation if they wanted to do it, but I just thought it was a bad strategy having Josh Hart getting less minutes.
Yeah, definitely was. The Knicks had a few issues. Number one, primarily defensively. When your two best players are your two worst defenders, you're gonna have problems. 100%. Exactly. You're definitely gonna have problems. They were seeking out Brunson and Cat, either one, in pick and roll situations. They were looking for them. And because the two of them are so ball dominant, as you guys saw, they played better when they weren't on the floor at the same time.
Right, right.
Which is wild. And again, it just goes to show you again the need for that true point guard. Like that is the proof in the pudding right there. The fact that both of them can coexist on the floor at the same time. That's how you need someone who can make all of it work together. It's all these great players. You take them off the ball, and that's when they're at their best. You look at the 4 championships LeBron won, was not the main ball handler. That's because that's when he's at his best.
All right, good point.
Well, and they didn't really use, someone that could fit that bill, and they have him right now is Tyler Kolek. I mean he's a perfect point guard. I mean he doesn't look to score. For the little time that he played, he made beautiful passes. I mean, defensively he's a liability right now.
That's the problem. You just hit it right on the head, John. That's the
Yes.
problem, because that means the talk is Brunson with another guy. He has to play with a top defender with length.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why Lonzo Ball, I like that one. He's not a knucklehead like his brother. So he's just had bad luck, right, with his injuries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got that
He's had a lot
weird
of injuries.
shot. He's not a shooter, but like as you said, they don't need him to shoot. So,
but-
all right, we'll put that one in. We'll bookmark that one, John. So I don't know if that's. I think maybe it's a good segue because let's face it, who beat the Knicks? The Indiana Pacers. Game 7 last night. So we are talking, right? We're talking on, is it Tuesday, John? I don't even know what day of the week it is, right? No, it's Monday. What am I talking about?
Monday.
We're talking on Monday, the 23rd. The draft is the 25th. So game 7 was last night. And, it's such a shame when you see this happen. And a guy that for some reason in certain games, especially game 6 against the Knicks, decided not to show up. And a lot of these, like the same thing with OKC, they didn't show up in game 6 in Indiana. It's almost like we'll just win it at home. That game looked like it was going to be an all-timer because Tyrese Halliburton came out aggressively looking to score. And another torn Achilles, John. I mean, come on, talk about how many torn Achilles can we see in 12 months?
Yeah, but you know what made me very angry about that? We've spoken about this all year long with these torn Achilles, and it always starts off with a calf injury. So if your calf is bothering you that much, you should not be on the floor. The guy was hobbling. You could see he was hobbling. And the minute I saw him go down, I said, that's a torn Achilles. I didn't even have to wait for an MRI. I said, that's a torn Achilles again. It's stupid. Now the Pacers will not even come close to the finals next year. Neither will the Celtics. Neither of those teams will be anywhere near the finals next year. Okay? Stupidity. It upset me because you know what? Even though Halliburton killed us, he's a great player. He's a great player. And you saw him, and I'm like, I wouldn't be playing on this if you've been hobbled with this. And man, that train came right into the station right on the same time, same back channel.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
I know, but it's game 7 in the finals. I mean,
you know what?
You're going to
see.
It
was like Anunoby trying to play in game 7 last year. Okay, he
I
was
don't know.
hobbling. He should not have been in the game. That kid.
All right.
Was
Well, he
terrible.
hit 4 threes. He hit 4 threes.
The medical staff should not have let him talk them into letting him play. That's the problem. I'm sorry, Gamal. What's your take on that? I'm ranting away here.
It's funny because, and you hit the nail on the head, Doc. What has been all of these guys? Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and now you have Tyrese Halliburton. The precursor has been tightness in the calf. If I'm an NBA player, let somebody look at me and say tightness in the calf. All right, we done. We shut down. We're good. Shut me down. Like that's the precursor. And it's like, and you're absolutely right. If you're not taking the time, and yes, you're absolutely right, Zub. It's a tough position to be put in. It's game 6 and 7. And you want to know what messed them up even worse? he had a great game 6. That's what made it worse. So
Right.
now you're like, okay, I can't play through it. I'm going
Yes.
to try and do it again. And to your point, he came out cooking. He hit 4 threes, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to come down to the final 2 minutes. Like, this is
Yep.
going to be a great game. And it's just, it's heartbreaking to see him go down. He really proved himself, overcoming being called the most overrated to come back. I mean, there's nothing negative you could say. But I got to tell you something. And you mentioned it, Bouk. If my name is Joel Embiid, I am on my knees and I'm saying, thank you, Father, for granting me this opportunity to come back and possibly contend in the East. Let me tell you something, if Joel Embiid, if he can't get Philadelphia next season in contention, just do what you got to do, sell him, send him, move him, get a couple fax machines for him, and keep it pushing because the East is wide open. This is it. If I'm Cleveland, if I'm Orlando, if I'm New York, and if I'm Philadelphia, yeah, yep, wide open. I have a legit shot of winning the East.
All right. Well, that's bold because Philadelphia is going to like fit nicely into our next segment, which is the NBA draft, where are conveniently picking high, and we'll get into that fiasco in a minute. But I just want to quickly thank you again, Gamal, for being on our show, and of course, John, right, our fans who are accessing our show on YouTube.com. It's been a while, right, John? So I did a little vacation, went to the other side of, I shouldn't say the other side of the world. I went to Europe. World War III decides to break out when I'm over there, but that's another story. But guess what? The Parisians don't care. I can promise you that. So you would have never noticed. So I had a great time. So we haven't been on as much. And we do appreciate people coming back, hopefully, and checking out our content, youtube.com. You got to search our show, right, John? For our Spotify listeners, spotify.com. You got to search our show on YouTube, Bouk, B-O-U-K, and Zoobie, Z-O-O-B-I-E. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the Spotify channel, and like the episodes. It drives the algorithm. And we, of course, with the great Gamal Smith talking some hoops, that's going to increase viewership significantly, right, John? So we really
That's right.
appreciate everybody checking out our show. So before we get to the NBA draft, John, I want to, of course, throw it back to you. You have anything else you want to throw out there in the NBA, and Gamal as well? Anything,
Yeah,
other thoughts? What do you got?
we have so many different things. We had two major trades that happened in the NBA while you were gone.
Okay, might not
Uh,
have heard about them. What do you got?
all right, so Kevin Durant
Heard of that one?
sent to the Rockets for 5 second-round picks. The 10th round pick of this year's draft, Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green,
All right.
for a 36-year-old, often injured superstar. And everyone's saying, did Phoenix get enough for him? I thought they did tremendous with the haul that they got for him. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Gamal, you take it first. What do Jalen Green's obviously a top prospect. He's still, what is he, 20 or 21?
Yeah, he's young. It's funny. He's definitely prisoner of the moment, man. He had an opportunity in the playoffs against the Warriors. He didn't play well. I think he had one good game. The other games he did not play well, and it was very clear that what Houston was missing was a closer. That's what they needed. They have everything else. You got a great point guard. You got Şengün in the middle. You got one of the Thompson twins. Those guys are just like nightmares on the court. You got decent bench players. So it was very apparent that that's what they needed. Yeah, Kevin Durant is what it's funny. Like was pointed out, it's, a lot of people say, he's 36 years old. It's true, but he has shot over 50% for, I think, almost 90% of his career. He's averaged over 25 every season except his rookie year. The last 3 seasons, he's actually gotten better. He's averaged over 25. He's one of those guys who shoots over 50 and 90% from three and from the foul line. So, is Kevin Durant one of those guys who, look, he's not going to make people around him better, but he's a guy, if you slide him in, he can fit perfectly with what you have. And that can be enough, to really get you over. I mean, right now, you got to look at Houston, and you have to put them as one of the top contenders. You got
Yes,
to
they
put
are.
them as one of the top contenders. Look at this lineup: Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant, Amen Thompson, Şengün, and honestly, you could take the guy who's selling popcorn, you could put him in there as the fifth. It really doesn't matter. Like, that is a serious lineup right there. And and as far as Jalen Green goes, I'm gonna tell you right now, when it happens Wednesday next show, you could be like, yeah, Gamal's pointed that out. He's getting moved on draft night for sure, because Phoenix have 3 guys who do the same thing. So we're not gonna have Beal, Booker, and now Jalen Green. Yeah, he's gonna get moved for sure.
Or Beal will get moved, maybe.
Right, somebody's getting moved. That is
Right.
guaranteed.
If they can get
Right. If they can do it.
someone to take him,
Just takes one team, John. It only takes one team to do it. All right. There you go.
and then you
What the
had
other
the
one?
Orlando Magic
Mm-hmm.
acquiring Bane from
Oh,
Memphis. Now they gave up Cole Anthony, which I actually like Cole Anthony very much. I don't Cole Anthony 4 first round picks and Caldwell Pope. I thought that the Magic gave up so much for Bane. I mean, Bane is a good player, but wow, what do you think about that? I think that the Magic totally overpaid on that one.
Listen, when I saw that trade, I wasn't sure if they traded for Cad Bane from Batman, because I was like, you guys have given up everything. It was, but
Unbelievable.
I saw an interview with the general manager, and he said something very interesting. He said that they, in the past 2 years playing against Memphis, they said that they liked everything they saw in Bane, and he said that for what we have and for what we are trying to do, they said he is the perfect fit for us. So he's like, for us, do we think it was well worth it? He said 100%. So, listen, we're going to see. I think he's a great player. I think he's very consistent. I will give him that. He is a very consistent player. Um, and he's a very level-headed player. It's going to be. I'm curious to see how he does in the East. He's a good defender. He's very gritty. It's going to be nice to see him go up against, the Donovan Mitchells and the guys we have in the East. I think, like I said, the East is wide open next season. Orlando is definitely
Yeah,
one of the teams to keep an eye on. I think
yeah.
they're going to have
Young
to go
team.
through their growing pains, but yeah, I think they're right in the mix.
all right. There you go. That's two pretty significant trades. Now, guys, sometimes trades work out for both teams, and you got to give something up to get something, and it is a matchup league. And if you have a roster that's kind of off balance, maybe that's a right move. So it's
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah,
I know Bain when he played at TCU, was like a second round draft pick, right? He was not a high pick. I mean, he's got to be one of the strongest guys in the league, pound for pound, right? I mean, the guy's a walking muscle, right? I mean, the guy is strong.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's also contractual, also, right? So you have to know what the details are on guys. Sometimes guys get moved in the last year of their deal. They have more value than you think, type of thing. Sometimes, so it's you really got to look at those deals. So So sorry about that. What do you got, John?
One more thing is, and I need both of your reactions on this, but the LA Lakers sold for $10 billion. 10, not 10 billion. I mean that's another crazy deal from the Walter, who actually bought the Dodgers with what the Guggenheim partners. I mean, how are they valuing these teams now? I mean, 10 billion for the Lakers. What are the Knicks worth?
Ice?
I don't know.
Ice, you
Yeah,
want?
Jimmy Dolan, get him to sell, please. I mean, my God. So maybe Uncle Stevie Cohen can afford the Knicks. Put him on his. He shows up to Knick games in his Met hat, so maybe he's going to buy the Knicks.
I mean,
All
what do
right.
you think about that, Gamal? Ten
Oh,
billion. You think
No,
it's worth it?
that's a crazy number. And correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this the same group that also bought the Commanders?
no, I don't think so.
It's
This
not the
guy
same
owns the
group.
Dodger. The guy owns the Dodgers. The guy who
Okay,
bought it. Yeah.
Dodgers. Yes,
Now the
Yeah.
Commanders guy is that guy Josh Harris. He owns the
that's it.
Devils and the Sixers, I
And the
believe.
Yeah.
Sixers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is
So
a great. It's so funny because I find that I find this very ironic in ways because Magic is a part of this group,
yeah, sure, he's part of it too, right?
and
She is.
correct me if I'm wrong, but they ran Magic out because Magic wanted to keep the youth, develop them, so that when LeBron was at this stage, we'd have all the young guys to carry the load and carry him into the playoffs till we need him. And here we are, and guess who's back?
Guess who's back?
Guess who's back? It's yeah, very interesting. No,
Well,
I
it's a
think
swan song for LeBron. Is that what you're headed? I mean, this is it for LeBron James. This last year, it's official, I believe, right?
yeah, this is it. This is it. I find this whole thing with LeBron very interesting. Now that he's on he's coming up to closing out his career. Now we're trying to change the narrative and say that it's not about championships, and he doesn't understand why it's about championships. And it's a team sport. It's like, come on, man.
It's always about championships. That's something John nor I know anything about, Gamal. So I know you're not exactly running in rings either. But so yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk NBA draft. We have to. It's the NBA draft preview show on the Bouk and Zoobie show. So storylines of the draft before we even get to the players. The first thing, Gamal, because John and I have talked about this, how incredibly professional sports is the only thing out there that beats the odds. So the Dallas Mavericks at John, what was it,
Oh,
1.1% chance probability, miraculously somehow Gamal gets Cooper Flag. So two things. What do you think about that whole situation? And do you believe a crime has been committed? And what do you think of Cooper Flag? Two questions.
yeah, the draft is interesting because when you go back and you look at some of these teams, it's usually after it shows a record of post major trade. You look at the Spurs, and they get David Robinson. We all know having Patrick Ewing, and then you have this Luka trade, and now hey, look, you got the number one pick. Even when the Pelicans got Anthony Davis and stuff, it's just like, okay, um, very interesting. Listen, I'm not gonna jump into the grassy knoll or anything. I'm not gonna be one of these
You're not going there?
people.
All right.
But it is interesting. As far as Cooper Flag goes, I think it's gonna be interesting to see how Cooper Flag translates. One thing that I think people have to remember is that he's still very young. He's still
Yes.
very young. Like, he just turned 18. Like, he's still a young kid, who has a lot of growing, and a lot of learning to do. Does he have a high ceiling? Oh, 100%. he has a motor that is just like that just doesn't stop, which is definitely good to have. But there are listen, his size, he's not overwhelmingly bigger than other guys in the league and stuff. He's not physically imposing like a Zion, but he's gonna have to find, what sets him apart. It might be that, he's just relentless. It could be that, we have to see how his skills translate. Who knew when Embiid was at Kansas that he could dribble, put the ball on the floor and pull up and shoot threes? Nobody knew
Right.
until he came into the league. But I think you hear a lot of good things. Even when he was in high school and they played against the U.S. Olympic team, even then you heard that the NBA players were very very impressed. That he was able, and he was 16, 17 then, and he was able
Right.
to hold his own. So yeah, I think he has a very very high ceiling. Um, yeah, the draft is going to be interesting. I think I'm curious to see where some of these guys go. I got to tell you, I'm very, very curious to see, what teams are looking for. I think there's going to be a lot of movement. I think Adam Silver is going. Someone better get that man a lot of glasses of water because he's going to be busy. There's going to be a
All
lot of
right.
trades.
Pick and trade. So yeah, so this is actually works out pretty good for me in the top. Well, let's like move to the top five. Um, so yeah, John, you may want to mute yourself sometimes when you're not talking. To got a little squeaking going on. So hopefully our
Oh,
wonderful producer will do that. So
sorry about that.
yeah, it's okay, John. It's okay. Anyway, so let's just like move out to the top five because I think that's it's got its own storyline in itself because it seems to be universal that Dylan Harper is going second to San Antonio. But this is like what I think fits in with what Gamal's saying is that don't be shocked if there's some trade activity here because the kids that went to Rutgers, Harper and Bailey, the hype was incredible, but the team was under 500 and Harper missed a good amount of time. Now, as I do think he's got tons of talent, and this is Ron Harper's son, ex NBA player, and his brother, right? Did his brother play in the NBA as well? I believe, I
I think
think,
so.
right? Um, and he's a guy that I'm going to call him like a poor man's Magic Johnson, right? He's like a physical ball handling point guard. He's not a great outside shooter, but like he's got a lot of ability in he'll be like a mismatch, kind of nightmare for teams because he's going to do a lot of posting up, I believe. So with a guy like Wembanyama and Jeremy Sohan's on that team, and can't recall the other kid they have, San Antonio is another good player.
Yeah,
Um, it
yeah.
seems like that's the logical pick. So you're in that same camp, Kamal?
Yeah, the Spurs, they got a lot of good pieces. They got Darian Fox.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, right. They
they,
got Fox. Right. Of
they
course.
have the was it? They have Castle, who's just rookie of the year. So yeah, they have a lot of really good pieces in San Antonio. Um, Curious to see, because Fox is still in his mid 20s, so it's interesting, for them to draft this kid at number two.
Because he's
Um,
similar, right? He's a similar
right,
player.
similar. But you know what? I'm not sure if the Spurs still have Chris Paul. I'm not sure if he's moved on. So, maybe this is a guy you want to keep, run your second unit, a guy who can give you a lot of minutes.
He
I'm
seems
not sure.
universal as number two. John, I don't know
Yeah,
if did you see any Rutgers this year? Because again, he missed time. I don't know if you got to
he
see them.
said,
No, I didn't see any Rutgers at all. No.
Right, because they got the other kid Bailey, who was
yeah,
when we slide to three, where Philadelphia's picking, where he was kind of the pick for a lot of the pre-draft hype, but has suddenly caused doing a little Shador Sanders routine where being a little immature in the pre-draft process. Why wouldn't you want to go to Philly? I mean, you're in you want to go to Charlotte or Utah? I mean, are you kidding me? So that is really perplexing. So what do you think of his game, Gamal?
I like his game. I think he has, I think his game is very smooth. Ace Bailey, this kid, you're looking at like a 6'7" two guard. You know, very smooth. Again, young. I think he's only 18.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he is young. Yeah.
so you have, these guys coming in, and it's like, it's not everyone could just jump in. And I think, there's levels. Like every level you go up, it's a huge jump, and that's one thing, I remember, going from high school to college. I remember my brother telling me that. He's like, listen, that's a giant leap. And he told me, he goes, listen, you gotta remember, you're on this team. Everybody was, best on their team. Everyone played in the state championship, from where they're from. So it's like, you're now going up a level. And, when you do this in the NBA, it's different. Not everyone can be, a Kevin Garnett and come in and play right away, or a Moses Malone and just come in and dominate. It takes time. And so I'm not really understanding. I agree with you. I think Ace Bailey in Philadelphia is a great spot. I think, what, you don't have to come off the bench, learn as the season goes on. Now you can work your way into the rotation. I think that's a great spot for him. Because his game is very similar to like a Paul George. So yeah, I think that if he can land there, but he's not trying out with anybody, so I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not
So
sure who's
yeah,
advising him, but they're giving terrible advice.
I mean, you look at these top five. Where do you want to go? I mean, obviously he's not going one, no doubt. Bailey, this is pre-draft. Maybe he could have snuck into two. And you want to play it with San Antonio and Wembanyama, or you want to play, with the Hornets or Utah. Again, I just bizarre situation. And then the Wizards, and then it's the Pelicans, and then the Nets and the Raptors. Your guys are coming up. So anyway, so that guy, I don't know. He's got great range. He's got talent, but when you're picking that high, you just have that fear factor that you're afraid of the immaturity. So
Yeah.
who does that bring into the conversation, John? A guy that I would say, out of anybody who's talking about the NBA draft, I've got to be in the top 1 percentile of knowing a lot about a certain kid, one of my favorite guys to
Hey,
ever play,
VJ.
VJ Edgecombe, who plays for my beloved Baylor Bears. Gamal, that's where my son went, so that's
Oh, nice.
one of my teams, as John knows. And this kid is got some limitations as well, but this guy is guaranteed going to be, if he does it, is going to be the slam dunk champion next year.
Mhm.
Now, how much he plays is another story. I hope he goes to Philly, John, because it's close. I get to see him a lot, and Charlotte, I just can't. That's just like a place that you'll never recover going there. And then Utah, forget it. You're never going to see Utah play. So VJ Edgecombe, who has to work on his outside shot, but he's got something you can't teach. He's got athletic ability. God gifted it. And what a leaper this kid is. And he's got a good head on his shoulders. And he's a humble kid, and he's going to bust his butt. I think he's moved into the number 3 spot with Philly. I think it'll be fantastic to watch him play with Embiid. I hope it happens.
Yeah, he's a great player. I believe he's also a former teammate of Cooper Flag, from their high school.
No,
Um,
no, he did not. Actually, no, he did not play for Montvert. Actually, another Baylor kid did, Rob Wright, the point guard, who
that's
ended
who
up
I'm thinking of.
transferring.
Rob Wright. That's who I'm thinking of.
And another guy on that team, actually two other guys who are going to get drafted in the first round, Derek Queen and Asa
Yeah,
Newell. Actually, and
yeah,
then the other kid, McNeely from UConn, is another one.
yeah,
Yeah.
They'll play for the same team.
yeah.
So,
It's unbelievable. And
yeah, no,
I love
actually,
Queen.
the funny thing about Edgecombe is he's from the Bahamas, but he actually went to Long Island Lutheran. So
Mm-hmm.
he's got
Yep.
the tri-state area, and he played with Carmelo Anthony's son, who
Oh,
just, I think, committed to Syracuse.
love it.
So anyway, so I'm all excited. Hopefully he goes 3.
Okay.
So Bailey, does he fall? So then it's kind of like the next group of guys, and a lot of them play for Duke. And one guy I really do like, and I don't know, John, I think you saw a little bit of Duke, and I told you about him, and he's got a great name, and I don't know what you think about his game, Gamal. Khan Knippel has got probably the best name of the draft, but I actually think this kid is going to be a very solid NBA player. What do you think of him?
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He can fit in because he's a shooting guard. He's got a high IQ. He doesn't need the ball in his hand. He's one of those guys who can just find the spots. Just kind of get into the flow of the offense, and just he has a really good feel for the game. He's one of those guys that honestly doesn't matter where he goes. I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but he is actually, in my opinion, he's exactly what Charlotte needs. Like Charlotte needs a guy like that, a guy who can just come in, run, find this spot, hit open threes, just hit mid-range shots. Like you don't guys like him, you don't have to drop offense for. He's gonna find his spots. And I feel like that is exactly what Charlotte needs. Is they need a guy like him.
Well, that would be good because I hope he doesn't go to Utah because that's going to be like, oh, Con Knippel. Of course he's at Utah. I mean, my God. So yeah. So I hope you're right. That would be good because that's where Ace Bailey is going to end up going to freaking Utah, and he is going to regret being the way he was. So I am going to actually go with that. I'm going to go with that. Knippel at 4. And then I would think Bailey would go next at 5. Just too good to pass up.
Yeah.
And then the Wizards show up and talk about a nightmare. But I guess the other Duke kid, who I just, again, talk about traits you can't teach, Malach.
Oh,
You can't teach wingspan and you can't teach height. And he's got both of those. So what do you think about that kid?
I like him a lot. I think this new wave of big men is very good because these guys they're very agile. They're very agile. This guy Malik, what is he, 7 feet and he's what, like 250, 260?
Yeah, he's a big. Yeah.
Great footwork, block shots. Like, whoever gets him, you just got your starting center. You have your starting center. Like, you could put him in right away. Right away. I mean, he has the physical attributes to play right away. I like him a lot. I really do.
All right. So I think I'm personally, those are my top 6 guys. I think those will be the first 6. Now, the wild cards are the Euros. Again, I'm not going to have add any value there. Last year was dominated by Euros, right?
Yep.
The first few picks. And I mean, I guess they had pretty good seasons, right? I mean, Sarr and was it Richer? Those, I think they were the top 2 picks last year. I mean, last year's draft was one of the all-time weakest drafts.
For sure.
This draft is, I'm not going to say all-time great draft, but they are solid players, and we're just scratching the surface, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, I'm very curious to we touched on him earlier, the kid from Maryland, the kid Queen. I'm very curious to see where he goes. This is a 6'10" big man, highly skilled big man, can put it down, post moves, mid range, can shoot the three, doesn't live out there all the time, which is nice. Very comfortable with his back to the basket. This is a guy, he ends up on the right team. He could be a problem.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talk about my teams on the show, and we'll get to John's team, St. John's, later, unfortunately for them, and that's another thing I want to get to with Gamal, a little St. John's talk. Maryland is where I went, Gamal, so that's my other school, and St. John's being the third. That's what you got to do, sports fans. Just get a bunch of teams. Eventually, maybe one of them will win. Derek Queen brought a lot of excitement back to College Park. He's fearless. He is fearless. I'm a little worried about him, maturity wise as well, right? So he's got to go to the right spot, right? Get in with a veteran team. So him sliding a little bit, I think will actually maybe benefit him. So if he goes to a very weak team without, good culture, good leadership, I would be a little worried about him. So hopefully for him it doesn't. And the Nets, we haven't talked about them because I guess, John, they own like every Nick draft pick, right? So what do they have? How many first round? Do they have 4 or 5?
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
Nets picking 8th.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I mean, they have to rebuild that team. I mean, what do they go for?
Yeah.
There's just so much for them to, look at over here. I wanted to ask both of you, this kid McNeely, what do you think about him coming out so early?
It's going to be a first rounder. That's the problem, right? So when
Yeah.
you're a first rounder, you're supposed to go. You get the guaranteed 3-year deal. If you're a second rounder, you don't get a guaranteed deal. He definitely could have played another year, John, no doubt. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
right,
do you
being a St.
think
John's
Paul
guy, you
Brent?
should be happy. He left.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that guy Colt Brenner is going to be in the first round?
I don't know. I'm going to say no. What do you think, Gamal? Corkbrenner
Yeah,
in the first or the second?
yeah,
He's definitely going to get drafted.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I agree with you. The guy, the kid McNeely. Listen, great year. High intensity. Plays hard. Definitely could have used another year. I agree with you 100%. But I gotta tell you, Paul, I gotta give you some good news here. Some
All right,
very,
what do you got?
very good news. You talked about Queen slipping. The Spurs are at number 14.
14?
Yeah.
Well, that would be, hey, anybody who's going to play with Wembanyama is going to be happy. So, that again, I don't, that's a good call. Would he drop that low? I'm going to probably say no, because he's in that. Because I stopped with like Malach, meaning like I really believe that's kind of like there's a little dip after that. That might not be fair,
Mm-hmm.
because we haven't even mentioned the other. I guess the other kid that I should definitely mention, Trey Johnson,
Yes.
who played at Texas, who's got tremendous range. I mean, this kid can shoot.
Yeah.
He's kind of one-dimensional. He's a little thin. So he's another kid that is got potential to maybe even get drafted higher than Malach. So he's in that top 10 group as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I know the Big East guys pretty well since we were watching
Yeah,
them
throw
all
some names
year.
out. Yeah.
So, Cam Jones, where does he go?
I'm saying second round. If he gets drafted, I'm thinking he's a good player. I don't know. What do you think, Kamal?
Yeah, I'm definitely saying second round for sure.
But
I
gets
think,
drafted.
yeah, I think he can go in the second round. I don't think that's a stretch. I think anywhere, mid-second round. I think that's realistic.
I think it's the same way with R.J. Lewis. R.J. Lewis will definitely be, I think, maybe third round.
John,
Yeah.
if he's a third rounder, that's not good. There is no
Yeah,
third round.
I have a feeling. You know which guy I'm very interested for the Knicks, actually. I'd like to see him come to the Knicks, and who knows? I mean, the Knicks are picking what, 50th this time
50th,
around?
yes. We should mention that they because of the Bridges trade, right? They don't have any first
Right.
rounders, right?
So one guy I really like this year out of the Big East, and and I'm thinking he's going to drop, is Eric Dixon. I'd like to see him on the Knicks.
You know something, John? You might have just called the 50th pick in the draft. That's where he's in that range that he's a draftable prospect. He's an older guy though, so and I mentioned earlier, it's the non-U.S. guys, right? That you just don't know how to account for them because the NBA
Yeah.
loves to draft these kids. They can stash them in Europe, and a lot of that happens in the second round. So there's always good play like R.J. Lewis, and that's we'll take a little side road because I want Gamal's opinion on this because Gamal, when St. John's lost, it was a huge story on the Bouk and Zoobie show because of John's love and my like of St. John's. And I think that for everybody out there, I didn't hear many people criticize Rick Pitino like our show did. And I just thought that was just such a terrible job by him, where he basically, I mean, I don't want to say threw away the game because Lewis maybe would have never gotten anything going in that game. But that was a what, John? A 1 point game with 5 minutes to go, and he
Yeah.
benches him. What'd you think
Yeah.
about that?
Listen, that's you know what? The tournament is not the time to prove a point. It's that
Right.
not there. Not there. We are here to do one thing and one thing only. It's win or go home. Like
Right.
Yep.
that's it. You want to pull him, you want to take him out, you want to sit him down, have a quick talk to him and send him back in. I'm all for it. I'm all
Right.
for it. You're not gonna sit in a 1 point. No. No, that's and I love Patino. But that one I was just like, nah, that's
That
not
was
it.
a that
Not the
was an
move.
ego. That was an ego move by Patino to show that he's boss.
Yeah.
I mean, he really got a big head. He was down in the dumps and coaching in, somewhere where no one knew what type of program he was doing. He was in Greece
He
and
was crazy. Right.
and listen, St. John's gave him, he did great with St. John's, but that to me was just a total ego move.
Yeah.
He was saying, oh, he was having a John Starks like game. Yeah, but you know what? He's the one that brought you there. So you're
Right.
giving up on the kid with 5 minutes to go. You gave up on him and say, oh, by the way, he's not going to be part of St. John's next year, and he shouldn't go into college. But I mean, he just totally threw him in the trash after that game. It was like he was so dismissive of R.J. Lewis after that.
Yeah, he was. He
I
was.
wish he
And
came back. I wish he came back to college hoops and played another year with another team. He should have went. He could have gotten good money in the nil market.
Yeah.
He would have been able to play one more year. He would have gotten to a top program. I think he made a mistake. He and not let his career end that way. I just thought he got a raw deal. I love him as a player. But I think he'll get drafted. I think he will. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't. And Kadari Richmond is probably not going to get drafted, right? Unfortunately, he's not. So, I've been scrolling around looking for the names. I want to make sure that we talk about all the names. And, one name that just popped up, and I talked about this at the end after the Gators won the championship, Gamal. How would Walter Clayton, who I just cannot believe how well he played. He played,
Yeah.
I thought he was incredible in March Madness. And how would he adjust to the NBA game? And what would the NBA think of him? And I'm looking at this list, and again, this is one person's opinion. By the way, they have Cam Jones 30th, John, so maybe I'm wrong about him. Um,
30th, wow.
yeah, they
Okay.
have him as 30th. They had Walter Clayton, 25th prospect. So what do you think about
Yeah.
him?
Who's got the 25th pick? Who's that?
Oh, yeah, this is just they just have the player rankings. This is the ranking. So got to go.
25th pick.
You got the list in front of
That's Orlando.
you. There you go.
So Orlando, they just got Bain. They got
Wow. Wow.
so they're
Wow.
not going to take him. But I'm going to give you a team that if he drops to them, could definitely help them out a lot. By the way, someone keep track of how many picks Brooklyn has in the first round. Good Lord, I think it was like
Yeah, and I
four.
think we were saying right. It's
It's
four.
ridiculous. I think OKC has like 2 as well. I tell you this, I would love for Walter Clayton to drop a little more. And I think if he can end up in Phoenix, again, we talk about the need for a true point guard. Devin Booker, you're a 2 guard, and they just put the ball in your hand. And they said, all right, make it work. This is the guy who could get him off the ball, and now you can maximize Devin Booker. You free him up, you put the ball in this kid's hands, and you have, because this kid, listen, we saw this is a true point guard. This is a guy who knows how to run the offense, get everyone to where they need to be, control the pace and tempo of the game. That is exactly what this kid can do. Yeah, I would love to see him in Phoenix. I think he could really he could help with that turnaround. He's a solid point guard. Great
Yeah, and
turnover ratio.
right. And he measures 6'3" and a quarter, so he's not undersized. So he's got
Oh,
reasonable length.
yeah.
So not like some of these other. And it's funny because there are some, and I'll throw them in the unknown categories or guys that, I don't really love the kid from Illinois, the Lithuanian kid,
Uh,
Jakujanis. I'm not a huge fan of him. He has eighth. Another guy that people should know about, Jeremy Fears,
mhm.
who's a point guard from Oklahoma, who's definitely a pure point guard. He cannot
Yeah,
shoot, but he's like ultra quick.
yeah.
He's another kid that they have him here, seventh prospect. And then there's a guy, I guess the hyphen kid in this draft is Colin Murray Bowles, or Boyles, I should say, not Bowles, Boyles, from South Carolina, who I honestly don't know much about. And the kid I mentioned earlier, Asa Newell, also from that Montvert team, he's 13. The
Yeah.
kid from Georgetown, Thomas Schauber, is 15th. So I don't know. There's, again, all drafts and all sports are a bit of a crapshoot. So I know we threw out a bunch of names. So hopefully people get hopefully get something right, Gamal, with our discussion
Well,
on the NBA draft.
I wanted to ask both of you, what do you think about Eric Dixon playing for the Knicks if they had a
Oh,
chance to get him? What do you think?
well, again, they're picking at 50. I think that's where he's probably in that area. That's funny. They have him 56th on this list. They ranked 59 guys. R.J. Lewis was 57th. So yeah, John, there's the one thing about the draft is that you can get quality players in the second round. You really
Yeah.
can. It happens every year,
Sure.
and it's just, again, if you're not talking about. I see another name very interesting is a couple more Duke guys, right? Tyrese Proctor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a beanpole, 6'5.5". He can shoot. I mean, they got him at 42. Another guy who probably should have came back to school. I don't. And then also the kid from Auburn, Johnny Broom, who's one of these guys. He's got this ugly game, but he just produces, and that's a big factor for me. I like guys who produce, man. I know everybody likes to draft on potential, but I like to see some measurables and points and rebounds and just the whole statistical look at a player. Were they productive? I mean, that to me is important. It's not just all about how high somebody can jump.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is gonna be a good draft. It's as you pointed out, it's not always the lottery guys. It's not always the lottery guys. I have to remind everyone, our current MVP, SGA, was drafted 11th.
He was 11th, right? Canadian,
Yeah.
of
So
course. Kamal loves to being our Canadian on the panel. We should point that out, right? Because right, Dort was from Canada too, right?
yep, yep.
And there was another
Dort,
Canadian, right? Who's the other?
Nemhard, Nemhard
Nimhart.
from yep. Yeah, a lot of Canadians are running around out there.
There you go.
No,
Awesome.
it was good. But yeah, you don't have to be one of the top guys drafted. He was, like I said, drafted 11th. You have a lot of guys on there. That's a dangerous team, man. OKC's they're gonna be around for a while. That's a
Also,
young
And you
team.
did, and by the way, one thing that we did not give Gamal credit for as well, as he's been saying all year long about OKC winning the championship.
he did. He
So
mentioned him
he
last week.
said it from day one.
That's true. Take a bow. That is
Take
true.
him
That is
back.
the facts, folks. We know on the Bouk and Zoobie show. That's the great thing about this show, Gamal. You get to go on the record with your picks. Again, you're talking. I like you threw Orlando out there in the East, so that's something for people to remember. Not that you picked them, but I don't want to speak for you, but you did throw them out. East wide open. So I'm going to give you one last shot, Gamal. Anything else in the NBA? You want to talk a little WNBA? They, for some reason, they can't. It's like now the new thing with that league is people are just like watching to see if there'll be a fight on the court. It seems so. I mean, just like an absolute bizarre situation going on in that league.
Yeah.
So very weird. It's just like, can we just play ball and just stop cheap shotting each other. And it's just, anyway, talk about a rabbit hole to go down. I'll tell you with that league.
No, it's and it's a shame because it's taken away from all of the great things that are happening right now. Paige Bucher's right now already settled in. She's already putting in the work. She's dropping like 20 a night already, which is incredible. Caitlin Clark, listen, people they have to remember, like, this is a young lady. Like, this isn't, people think like, oh, she shoots like Steph. That's about all they have in common. That's about it. Okay, because she's not nicey nice like Steph. She's a lot more Kobe than Steph, which means she's gonna get in your face. She's gonna
Yes.
tell you things about yourself that you probably didn't know, and and then she's gonna give you some work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah,
what she does.
she likes the trash talk. There's no doubt about it, and she likes to talk. Definitely, she'll talk to the officials a lot. But it's just that's good. The game needs personality. Don't no cheap shots. That's all. You play hard. Just like the cheap shooting, cheap shots. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
that body block that the young lady put on her after she got hit in the eye and she kind of pushed back and she like lays her out and the officials don't even give that girl a tech. I mean, she freaking should have been thrown out of the game. That was like so obvious.
It was. I know. It took me back. I thought I was watching Lakers Celtics in the '80s. Like, I was like,
Hey, I'm telling you, actually, I was thinking I was watching a little Flyers Rangers in the '70s a little bit with that little check there. I don't know about that, but anyway, enough of the WNBA. The NBA, it's been a great year. The ratings stunk, but it was a small market teams playing a small market team.
yeah,
That's what it's about. So let's go from the NBA. There's only one other sport to mention. I guess quickly, John, I guess we have to mention because we have not been on since Aaron
Yes.
Rodgers is now the quarterback of the Steelers and will be coming to MetLife Stadium opening day, 1 o'clock. Be there at MetLife for the. I mean, you can't. I mean, the NFL. You knew the minute they put that schedule out that they
oh,
knew Rodgers was signing, and Gamal John's been just still shaking his head for months now that Mike Tomlin would go down this road. So our beloved Aaron Rodgers, who was a mainstay on the Bouk and Zoobie show, right, John? We've been on the air for about 2 years, and it was a lot of Aaron Rodgers talk. We're going to talk about him before the game and after the game. But I'm telling you, John, if the Jets don't put the hurt on him, I mean, that would be that's going to be a low point as a Jet fan if they at least can't get a few shots at him.
Oh, Aaron Glenn is going to make sure that they get shots on him. Believe me. Oh, they're going to be going after his. I don't know.
His other
Like I
injuries.
said, I don't know what the Steelers were thinking about. Obviously they had the approval of Mike Tomlin. This is really outside of his personality. I don't know what to say about this.
yeah. This is crazy to me. You know what? In this game, you know what? When they play, I'm okay if we eat 15 yards. I'm okay with that. Sometimes you just got to give it up, and that's fine. But it's I keep saying it. I think Justin Fields is going to surprise people. I really do. When you get guys like him who is just looking for a place where he can just show that he can play. Very similar, very similar to like Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. Was just waiting, but like, let me just show you that I can play. Like, I can play. Like, I can get a team to the playoffs and be competitive. I feel like Justin Fields, listen, he had a great year, ended in Chicago last year in Pittsburgh. I think he's ready. I think this is going to work out, pretty good for the Jets. I think better than people expect.
Wow. All right. Well, optimism from a non-Jet fan. I'll mention that, of course, the old school Jet fans are just waiting for the demise of everything. But Gamal, you have to check out our show in the fall, and maybe you'll come. If Justin Fields leads the Jets to the playoffs, you're coming back on the show for an NFL show. But we have that one last sport. Of course, because it's time for baseball with Bouk and his beloved Mets. Boy, he wishes he did this show like 9 days ago because they were on top of the world. And what the heck has happened, John? It's all yours.
Oh, pitching, pitching, pitching. When you lose 8 out of 9 games, and we kind of saw this coming. I mean, we were holding our breath, waiting for Manaya, not waiting for Montas, but we're saying, okay, we have Senga, we have Peterson, we have Holmes, Manaya. We said, okay, that's a pretty good starting staff. Well, you don't have Senga for the next month. He gets injured. McGill is out for at least a month. And you saw that coming. I mean, he was, the past couple of games, it seemed like he wasn't throwing as hard. I mean, they're getting a lot of injuries. And as we've been talking about, the use of the bullpen. It just, when there's no length from your starting pitchers and you're bringing them every night, sooner or later, it was going to break down. And it did. It did. It really broke down pretty quickly. And that's why they're getting crushed. I'm actually going to see them on Wednesday evening against the Braves. And I think I'm going to have to hide my eyes because, I mean, who do they have to pitch at this point? Except for Peterson, Canning is slowing down. We got to pray that Manaya gets in and Montas could show us something, because otherwise we're going to start falling behind pretty quickly here. Pretty quickly. The other thing is, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we were concerned about, or you were concerned about Soto. And I said, no, he's been hitting the ball hard the entire time. And Soto is back. Let's put it this way. He's hitting the way he's supposed to. Are they hitting in the clutch? No. That's been a big problem all year. The fact that they sent down Alvarez, I think we spoke about him, and I was worried about his power numbers, and so are the Mets. He's been playing pretty lousy as a catcher defensively. And then today, they sent down Acuna down to the minors as well. They just sent him down. So, a lot of things going on with the Mets. And to me, mostly it's the pitching now. The pitching is a big, big concern to me because that bullpen is really, really tired. Really tired. So.
All right. Well, so what did you think about I mean, I thought when Alvarez hits a home run and you send him down that night, so that was predetermined, right? I mean, they were going to send him
Yeah,
down.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He was struggling. He was absolutely struggling. And I saw it a couple of weeks ago. When you don't see these power numbers and they're saying that he's been working on this swing, but meanwhile he breaks his hand, you know, you got to make adjustments for that too. So if I don't know, does his hand still bother him? I don't know. But he has to get himself back on track. He wasn't the same Alvarez. He has no confidence at all. None. So, other than that, um, again, you want to talk about injuries in Major League Baseball. Let's talk about more Tommy John surgery. Corbin Burns, big free agent signing, 6 years, $210 million. Tommy John surgery for the D-back. First time in his career, by the way. This guy was a workhorse. I mean, just so many guys out. There's just so many injuries. One thing that I didn't mention, by the way, another big trade is Devers gets traded from the Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. And to be honest, they really didn't give up that much to get him. I mean, they gave up Hicks. They had this kid, Harrison, Bello, the first round pick of this year. They really didn't give up much for Devers except take his salary. I just don't understand the Boston Red Sox at all. I mean, you give up Mookie Betts because you didn't want to give him an extension. You gave up Bogarts because you I don't know, you didn't want to pay him, and now all of a sudden Devers, you sign him, and then you say, well, we have Bregman, but Bregman can opt out. So I just don't understand what the Red Sox are doing at all with their team at all.
So what's your worry meter with the Mets? Just to get back to them quickly. So are you in 1 to 10, being 10, I'm like sweating bullets, worried. Where are you?
Um, I would say about a 7
A
right now.
7. Wow. All right, that's pretty high. All right, getting worried.
We have to get our starting pitching back. Mania has to come back. We got to get Senga back. If we get those two guys, then I'm not going to be as worried. But right now, Manaya's, supposedly he'll be back first week of July. Senga's supposed to be back middle of July. Let's get those guys back because we could drop very, very quickly. Very quickly. I mean, we're facing Atlanta. It's coming in for 3 games now. And Atlanta is starting, everyone's dismissing the Atlanta Braves like, oh, the Braves are so far out. Well, look how fast the Phillies made up ground. In 1 week, they made up 6 games on the Mets. 6.
Yep.
They were 5 games out. 6 games. They're ahead by 1 game. The Braves can easily come back, easily. And they're starting to get their pitching healthy. So, yeah, that, the bullpen is tired, very, very tired. So unless we have the guys slugging away, and just like the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees are a mess too. I mean,
Yeah.
they lost so many games in a row, just like the Mets. It was almost simultaneously that they were both having losing streaks. The Yankees are in trouble. When I say in trouble, they could still make it to the World Series, but again, they have a lack of pitching too. Really a lack of pitching. And you only can get so far. And I actually think right now the Detroit Tigers will beat them in the playoff. If it started today, the Detroit Tigers would probably go to the World Series over the Yankees.
All right. So Gamal,
So,
where do you sit on the baseball world? I don't think we've ever talked some baseball with Gamal. Are you you
I
rather watch the WNBA?
no, no, I gotta agree with Doc. I can't figure out what Boston's doing. Like it makes absolutely no sense to me. Like you're getting rid of these guys, and I feel like right when they're about to break out too, like right when you're like, all right, he's arrived, and they're like, thanks but no thanks, get out. Like I just don't understand that move. I really don't. And they did
Devers
it.
was their best player. Devers was their best player.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Mookie. Like what? Like why are they not holding on and building around? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Um, but I agree with Doc. The Yankees, the Mets, they both like imploded at the same time. You know, it's one thing that the Yankees should have learned from last year is that you can't rely on hitting. Baseball is kind of it's funny. It's similar to a lot of sports in that when you get into the playoffs, it now becomes a different game. It becomes a much different game.
Yeah.
Everything slows down. And yeah, and now it's about, working your guys, your bullpen's got to be strong, as the Yankees found out. They found out. And so yeah, they have to put in some work in the bullpen. I agree with you. I think right now, I agree. I think Detroit is a better team right now. Obviously a long way to go in the seasons. And then you have the friggin' pesky Astros, who I don't even like to mention. These guys, they just hang around, man. Jeez, they just don't go away. Friggin' Astros.
Yeah. I still think the National League whoever wins in the National League will win the World Series because the National League, again, I think is a much, much tougher league than the American League. There's really not that much competition in the American League. The National League is just, who's going to remain healthy enough?
Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers, they're loaded, but they have so many injuries, that team, pitching wise as well. So whoever's healthy going into the playoffs, I think wins the World Series. That it's just it's it's just a matter of attrition at that point, because the playoff system is so long in baseball. So you really do need pitching, and it may work in the Mets' favor that Manaea was out half the year, because now he won't be as exhausted as he was last year pitching against the Dodgers. That last game, he was just on fumes.
Right.
So, the fact that they're only one game out of first right now, I'll take it. I'll take it with the way our staff is. I'll
All
take it.
right. Well, it's not even July 4th yet, so there's going to be a lot more to talk about, right, John? We'll be
Yep.
back probably in 2 weeks, probably talking a lot about the baseball season. We will definitely talk about the draft. So, Gamal, as always, man, I really want to thank you for coming on our show. You always add a lot of great content and knowledge in the world of hoops. So we'll definitely look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. My pleasure. Always love being on the show. Thank you for having me, fellas.
And make sure you tell your friends. It's very important for the YouTube algorithm, right? That the people watch, we get in their feed, right, John? And they just can't wait to hear what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So, any last words? I always like to put it out there. Did anybody pass away in the last 3 weeks that we missed, or anybody of note there? Or
Other than Ron Taylor from the 1969 Mets.
Ron Taylor, all right, that would probably people are saying who? That's okay. But Ron Taylor's a relief pitcher, so
Yeah.
yes, we always like to mention Gamal, the old Mets especially, who unfortunately have passed on. So, anyways, who do you got to thank besides that?
As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. We love the feedback. I want to thank Gamal again for giving us his predictions and his knowledge, so I could always look back and see if he was right or wrong, but mostly right, which I appreciate. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. We'll see you in 2 weeks.